The Wells Report returns in 30 seconds. North to south, coast to coast, around the world. This is the Wells Report. Good morning. My name is John David Wells. What do we do on this broadcast? We report the news, honestly and fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias. We point out both. In short, we de-propagandize the mainstream media. We make commentary. That is not news. Commentary is opinion, both yours and mine, and so we debate. News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. Hi. I do not have a golf ball on my face. I do, however, have several sutures in my face that are covered up by this large bulbous bandage. So, as I've been talking about here, I spent a lot of time in the Mojave Desert. In the high altitude regions of Southern California when I finished up high school and so on and so on. I was a lifeguard. I spent a lot of time in the sun, spent a lot of time on California beaches. I burned myself a lot. Well, I have some basal cell skin cancer and they just took another piece off of my face. And so that's why this large golf ball like object is on my face. Please, I hope it's not much of a distraction for you. And I do feel a little bit weird about it because it was surgery and it was a lot more interesting than I thought it was going to be. Dr. Syra Momin is magnificent. She is a Mohs surgeon, and she's been working on my face, and she was very careful to make sure that my face would not look any uglier. She said, "You're a walking advertisement, so let's get it right." And I said, okay. So that's that. Time now for the front page. This is a news digest from yesterday's broadcast and while we were asleep. Hunter Biden yesterday defied a subpoena to appear in front of the House Oversight and Judiciary Committees, delivering instead a Trump-style broadcast or broadside against his GOP investigators outside Capitol Hill. The president's son says he has nothing to hide. His refusal to answer questions suggests otherwise. This, by the way, from the Wall Street Journal. Hunter blamed his no-show on Republican insistence that he initially sit for a deposition behind closed doors. Quote, "I'm here to testify at a public hearing today to answer any of the committee's legitimate questions without taking media queries." He said the GOP's illegitimate inquiry was based on distortions, manipulated evidence, and lies. His lawyer, Abby Lowell, claimed Republicans would use a closed-door session to leak distorted snippets of Hunter's testimony. Yet, House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer said he'd release a transcript of the deposition. As the committee has done with prior interviews, no witnesses get to decide the contours of a congressional subpoena, says the Wall Street Journal. House impeachment inquiry went through. This from USA Today. House Republicans formally authorized their impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden on yesterday, taking their most significant step toward impeaching our president. The House voted along party lines by a vote of 221 to 212 to greenlight the inquiry. Republicans have alleged the president financially benefited from his family's foreign business dealings, though they have not publicly released evidence backing up those claims. The votes come after House Republicans accused the White House of stonewalling their investigation. Authorizing the inquiry, they say, could bolster their long-standing legal standing if indeed their requests for information make it to court. The White House says it cooperated fully with the investigation and provided plenty of evidence disputing the House Republican allegations. The impeachment inquiry only proves how divorced from reality the sham investigation is, said Ian Sams, the White House spokesperson for oversight and investigation. By the way, there is an op-ed out, this from the New York Post. It's Jonathan Turley. He's a noted U.S. constitutional law professor from George Washington University. Wednesday's vote on the impeachment inquiry is likely to remain a strictly partisan matter, despite overwhelming evidence of a corrupt Biden family influence peddling operation worth millions of dollars. Not a single Democrat member is expected to vote for an inquiry into the allegations. That was indeed the case. Nearly 70% of voters, even 40% of Democrats, believe that Biden has acted unlawfully or unethically in office. Yet every Democrat will vote to stop any further inquiry. Even in our blindly partisan times, writes Professor Turley, this is no easy rationalization. That's why members are repeating three myths like a mantra on the Hill. They'll likely continue as the House moves toward compelling testimony of key parties. When he says, but it's Jonathan Turley. When Jonathan Turley testified at the first Biden impeachment inquiry hearing months ago, he said the threshold for an inquiry was obviously satisfied by the evidence, these massive payouts, and the contradiction of the president's past claims. Indeed, at least 4 articles of impeachment could be established if the House confirms critical facts. That is a point of inquiry to compel not impeachment, but answers. That's why Jonathan Turley encouraged the House to hold this formal vote. We will speak more about this later on in the Wells Report coming up in just a couple of moments. Meanwhile, also on Capitol Hill, the assistant U.S. attorney who was accused of limiting questions related to President Joe Biden during the federal investigation into Hunter is expected to be deposed at the House Judiciary Committee this morning. As a matter of fact, it could be going on as we speak. All the while, whistleblowers who made the allegations against her testify in a separate committee. The assistant U.S. attorney, Leslie Wolf, was subpoenaed last month for a deposition. She's expected to sit behind closed doors at the House Judiciary Committee today. Over at the House Ways and Means Committee, the whistleblowers who put Wolf's work under the microscope will sit for a closed-door hearing during the committee's executive session on Tuesday, this upcoming Tuesday, 10:30. Gary Shapley, who led the IRS portion of the Hunter Biden probe, and Joseph Ziegler, a 13-year special agent within the IRS Criminal Investigation Division, are expected to speak to the panel. Shapley and Ziegler have alleged political influence surrounding prosecutorial decisions throughout the Hunter Biden investigation, which began in 2018. Shapley alleges that Wolf sought to block the investigators from asking questions related to President Biden throughout the years-long federal investigation into his son, Hunter. Specifically, Shapley alleged that Wolf worked to limit questioning related to President Biden and apparent references to Biden as the big guy or as dad. International news from Fox News. U.S. energy experts are heavily criticizing the United Nations sweeping agreement to completely end fossil fuel reliance around the world, arguing the pact would only serve to harm American national and energy security. The agreement was announced during the UN's now concluded COP28 climate summit in Dubai, which was extended with an overtime period as delegates hammered out a deal with commitments related to fossil fuel usage and other climate-related priorities. The so-called global stock take represented the first U.S. agreement of its UN agreement of its kind to include language calling for nations to transition away from fossil fuels. Quote, while diplomats are fear-mongering about projected minuscule temperature changes, billions of men, women, and children around the world would rejoice at the opportunity to enjoy reliable electricity that fossil fuels provide. This, according to the American Energy Institute CEO, Jason Isaac, speaking to Fox News. Quote, lunatics with the UN are inhumanely attempting to bribe countries into phasing out fossil fuels, but have no realistic means for replacing the products and energy those hydrocarbons produce, he continued. Meanwhile, the Biden administration turns a blind eye to Iranian oil sanctioning, and the spigot is flowing right to China, which is now refining the products to move around the world, that being diesel and jet fuel. Isaac added that the COP28 agreement ultimately won't be worth the paper it's printed on, given the history of nations failing to meet other UN climate objectives and agreements. Special Presidential Envoy for Climate John Kerry, who led the U.S. delegation at the summit, applauded the government for delivering a significant piece of climate action. The Senate has passed an $886 billion defense spending bill with pay raises for troops and Ukraine aid. This from USA Today. The Senate passed an $886 billion defense spending plan yesterday, supported by President Joe Biden, that includes funding for Ukraine and annual pay raises for troops in a last-minute rush to authorize spending before the end of the year. The National Defense Authorization Act provides funding each year for Pentagon priorities such as training and equipment. The Senate passed the legislation by a bipartisan vote of 87-13. Congress has advanced the must-pass spending defense bill consecutively for the last 61 years. The bill will now head to the House. Ultra-conservative Republicans have threatened to tank it after lawmakers dropped contentious provisions that would have modified the Pentagon's abortion policy and gender-affirming health care. They're also unhappy with a temporary extension of a domestic surveillance program included in the bill without reforms. There are also objections about the fact that the bill does not allow for any further spending at the U.S. southern border. Then there's this. 70 Hamas militants have been arrested. This is from Israel. The Israeli military released video today from a northern Gaza hospital. It was a compound that showed the arrest of dozens of Palestinians as Israel continued to say destruction of vast swaths of Gaza is necessary to crush the Hamas militant network. The military said over 70 men described as terrorists were taken into custody, dozens of weapons seized at Kamal Adwan Hospital, under siege from shelling for days before Israeli ground troops swept in earlier this week. The video shows a line of shirtless men walking out of the rubble, arms in the air, and a pile of weapons. The army, working with the Israeli security agency Shin Bet, said it located the building used by Hamas operatives and an army officer in the area of the hospital, and also killed several militants in a series of clashes. The Boston mayor is in trouble. It has to do with a holiday party. Boston's Democrat mayor has apologized for causing offense with a holiday party invitation that excluded white people. Michelle Wu drew criticism yesterday after her aide sent a holiday party invite to all members of the Boston City Council for an electeds of color holiday party, even though 7 of the officials are white. Wu told reporters yesterday the invite was not meant to be sent to white council members who had their invitations rescinded 15 minutes after the original email went out. Quote, "We had individual conversations with everyone, so people understood that it was truly an honest mistake and went out in typing the email field," said Wu. "I think we've been in a position at one point where an email went out, there was a mistake to the recipient list. It's my intention that we can, again, be a city that lives our values and creates space for all kinds of communities to come together," she said. According to the local outlet, the minority-only party continued as planned. It happened yesterday, while Wu's office has plans to host a separate event for elected officials and members of her cabinet on a different day. Those, by the way, would include white people. And finally, on the broadcast, or at least the front page, Bill Belichick is struggling through the worst season of his Patriots coaching career. There is now rampant speculation over the past few weeks that his time in New England could soon be coming to an end. Although Robert Kraft has stayed silent on the topic of Belichick's future over the past few months, it appears that the Patriots owner might have already made a decision about what's going on and what's going to happen next with his head coach. According to Tom Curran of NBC Sports Boston, Kraft has already decided he's going to move on from Belichick, as he apparently made that decision after watching the Patriots lose to the Colts 10-6 in a game that was played in Frankfurt, Germany, November 12th. When they came out of Germany, conversations I had that week made it very clear a decision was made. They were going to play out the string, and at the end of the year, there would be a parting of ways for various reasons. Asked yesterday about the report, Belichick answered, as you expect he would, "Yeah, we're working for Kansas City." But yeah, are you planning on leaving the cut? I'm working on Kansas City. Do you have any idea about your coaching future? Yeah, I'm working on Kansas City. That's a Belichick news conference. They're very, very funny if you appreciate what Belichick does, and I do. I certainly hope that indeed Bill Belichick makes his way on in his football career so that we can be delighted by his work in the future. That is today's front page. Thanks for watching. The Wells Report's coming up in just a couple of seconds. We're going to take some of these things up to and including another amazing step forward for a female soldier. What am I talking about? Stick around, you'll find out. This is the Wells Report for Thursday morning.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
This is the Wells Report. Hi, John David Wells at your service. Yeah, it's not a golf ball. It's a bandage. Had some facial surgery yesterday, and boy, was it fun. Not. Although the person who did it, Dr. Syra Momin, magnificent. She's very, very good. She's a Mohs surgeon, and that's how you get rid of all of this stuff like that there on your face and elsewhere. Fortunately, I have had a piece of basal cell skin cancer removed from my ear, my right ear, my forehead, and now my cheek. I may have a piece on my arm. I don't know. But if you see me variously, it's like, it's not one of those, motion sensing things they do in Hollywood where you're up against a green screen and that's not that either. Although somebody said, I bet you I could drive that thing about 130 yards with a 7-iron. I said, no, you're not going to do that. Not a bit. A soldier has made history by becoming the first active duty female to pass the Army Sniper School and qualify for service in the elite role. U.S. Army Sergeant Maciel Hay who serves as a Cav Scout with the 173rd Airborne Brigade, passed the Army's sniper course last month at Fort Moore, Georgia, according to a brigade release. Her accomplishment marked the first time an active duty female has passed the rigorous course, coming after a National Guardsman from Montana became the first woman overall to earn the elite qualification. My nickname growing up was Sniper, said Hay. According to the release, her desire to live out that nickname led her to the Army, where she made it through basic training while qualifying as an expert on the M4 rifle. She then passed through the Army's Airborne School, serving with the 173rd before finally getting her opportunity to attend sniper school. I grew up shooting mostly rifles and handguns on my family ranches in Rockland, California, and Medford, Oregon. But the nickname came from the fact that I could find things really fast, similar to how a sniper does target detection. Given the rigors of Army training, and especially the sniper course, Hay recalled that she had doubts about her dream along the way, which she used as motivation. Quote, close friend of mine told me I'd never make it in the Army. There's no way I could become a sniper, she said. Needless to say, that person is no longer a part of my life, but now I look back at it, I really do appreciate the motivation. The 10 deadliest snipers in the world are Russians or of Russian descent, including Lyudmila Pavlichenko. She is one of those snipers that fought for Russia during the Second World War. And then for those people that have any kind of connection to the Marine Corps during the Vietnam era, a female Viet Cong sniper and interrogator known as Apache was famous for torturing the 5th Regiment, 1st Marine Division, U.S. Marines, and South Vietnamese troops, and was kind of cruel with the way she did it. She was known for saving souvenirs that I'm not going to get into. She operated around Hill 55 in the vicinity of Duc Pho, 8 miles, 13 kilometers from Da Nang. She used a 7.62 millimeter Model 44 Russian-made Mosin Nagant rifle with a scope. In 1966, the U.S. Marine Corps' legendary sniper, Gunnery Sergeant Carlos Hathcock, and his spotter, Captain Edward Jim Land, were sent from Da Nang to hunt for Apache. She was notoriously well known to the Marines around Hill 55. Because of her brutal tactics and infamy, she quickly became a high-profile target. One day, she had captured a young Marine during an ambush within hearing range of the hilltop defenders. She tortured him through the night. Hathcock and Land heard horrendous screams. The next morning, a Marine private staggered toward the camp. He was bleeding profusely, and there had been some very serious injuries that had been inflicted on him. There's just a lot of that. It took several days for Carlos and Jim to locate the Viet Cong sniper team. Late one afternoon, she spotted the group with a Vietnam woman that fit Apache's description 700 yards away. He was pointed out to Hathcock. She was a small woman walking toward a ridgeline with a squad of 5 Viet Cong guerrillas. All were armed. Hathcock took the shot, and she was done. So, deadly female snipers, yeah, and this Maciel Hay will join those ranks. Good luck to her in her career, and may she be very swift and true and shoot very, very well throughout her career. This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Coming up in just a couple of moments, we have lots of information regarding what had happened with Hunter Biden and his father. There is lots of news on that. And there's a little bit more, especially involved in the climate. We'll have that next as we continue here on the Wells Report. Thanks again for joining us. We'll be back with more in just a moment.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost. How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Our telephone number is 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. You can join us on our chat room, Facebook, YouTube, X, Twitch, Rumble, and Patreon. Let's see who's joined us. Mike has joined us. Hello, Mikey. Good to see you, brother. How's everything going? Eddie Jones has come along. The shift in times has two focuses. The turn will continue to stomp us as it controls. It appears as though the gig is up. As you point out, you and Outlaw. I don't know what you're saying there, Eddie. The insanity was to believe that an ordinary man had a voice or a chance that words written on a paper 260 years ago really meant what it said. Okay, not just white communities. Some other team will hire him. Yeah, but Belichick may be done. He has had a very, very hard life. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, that being said, speaking of having maybe hard life, but by your own choice, Hunter Biden has decided to ignore a congressional subpoena. Just exactly how is that going to work? We don't know. But here's what he had to say yesterday.
Good morning. Mr. Biden is going to have a statement to make and will not be able to take any questions today. We appreciate you all being here.
That's Hunter's lawyer, Abby Lowell.
Good morning. I'm here today to answer at a public hearing any legitimate questions Chairman Comer and the House Oversight Committee may have for me. I'm here today to make sure that the House Committee's illegitimate investigations of my family do not proceed on distortions, manipulated evidence, and lies. And I'm here today to acknowledge that I've made mistakes in my life and wasted opportunities and privileges I was afforded. For that, I'm responsible. For that, I'm accountable. And for that, I'm making amends. But I'm also here today to correct how the MAGA right has portrayed me for their political purposes. I am first and foremost a son, a father, a brother, and a husband from a loving and supportive family. I'm proud to have earned degrees from Georgetown University and Yale Law School. I'm proud of my legal career and business career. I'm proud of my time serving on a dozen different boards of directors. And I'm proud of my efforts to forge global business relationships. For 6 years, MAGA Republicans, including members of the House committees who are in a closed-door session right now, have impugned my character, invaded my privacy, attacked my wife, my children, my family, and my friends. They have ridiculed my struggle with addiction, they have belittled my recovery, and they have tried to dehumanize me, all to embarrass and damage my father, who has devoted his entire public life to service. For 6 years, I have been the target of the unrelenting Trump attack machine, shouting, "Where's Hunter?" Well, here's my answer. I am here. Let me state as clearly as I can. My father was not financially involved in my business, not as a practicing lawyer, not as a board member of Burisma, not in my partnership with a Chinese private businessman, not in my investments at home nor abroad, and certainly not as an artist. During my battle with addiction, my parents were there for me. They literally saved my life. They helped me in ways that I will never be able to repay. And of course, they would never expect me to. And in the depths of my addiction, I was extremely irresponsible with my finances. But to suggest that is grounds for an impeachment inquiry is beyond the absurd. It's shameless. There is no evidence to support the allegations that my father was financially involved in my business because it did not happen. James Comer, Jim Jordan, Jason Smith, and their colleagues have distorted the facts by cherry-picking lines from a bank statement, manipulating texts I sent, editing the testimony of my friends and former business partners, and misstating personal information that was stolen from me. There is no fairness or decency in what these Republicans are doing. They have lied over and over about every aspect of my personal and professional life, so much so that their lies have become the false facts believed by too many people. No matter how many times it is debunked, they continue to insist that my father's support of Ukraine against Russia is the result of a non-existent bribe. They displayed naked photos of me during an oversight hearing. And they have taken the light of my dad's love, for me, and presented it as darkness. They have no shame. These same committee chairmen have engaged in unprecedented political interference in what would have already been a 5-year investigation of me. Yet, here I am, Mr. Chairman, taking up your offer when you said we can bring these people in for depositions or committee hearings, whichever they choose. Well, I've chosen. I am here to testify at a public hearing today to answer any of the committee's legitimate questions. Republicans do not want an open process where Americans can see their tactics, expose their baseless inquiry, or hear what I have to say. What are they afraid of? I'm here. I'm ready.
That's Hunter Biden speaking bravely in front of the U.S. Capitol on the Senate side, by the way. And what he had to say stands on its own. All I can tell you is that there may be different viewpoints based on his commentary. I have a few, and we'll see what we can do about coming up with those for you. Meanwhile, over on the other side of the Capitol, James Comer, the chairman of the House Oversight Committee, and Jim Jordan had some comments regarding Hunter Biden's statement.
All right, well, I'll say what I said just a moment ago. Chairman Jordan and I have been very clear. We issued a lawful subpoena to the president's son. This has been a 10-month investigation, a credible, transparent investigation that has produced a lot of troubling evidence. We have lots of questions. Hopefully you all have had an opportunity to go in the committee room and see the boxes of documents that we've accumulated, tens of thousands of pages of documents. We have lots of specific questions. This is an investigation about public corruption at the highest levels of our government. The American people expect Congress to investigate this because I think one thing that Chairman Jordan's proven is the FBI, the DOJ, and the IRS, as we've heard from the whistleblowers, have all dropped the ball. So the House Oversight, House Judiciary Committee are conducting this credible investigation that an overwhelming majority of Americans want. We have specific questions for the president's son. He does not get to dictate the terms of this subpoena.
I would just point out that I've had a chance now to review what Hunter Biden said in his press conference. And I think he made an interesting statement. He said his father was not financially involved in the business. And I think that qualifier, the word financially, is important because once again, it shows another change in this story. First, it was no involvement. Then, no, I never talked to anyone. And then we find out about the dinners, the meetings, the phone calls, and everything else. Now it's okay. He wasn't involved in the business financially. I think that is important. It's one of the reasons we want to talk to Hunter Biden. Second thing I would say is this: in a few hours, I think the House of Representatives is going to pass the impeachment inquiry, and that is an important step. If you talk to any scholars in this, I think we could proceed as we did under Speaker McCarthy, where he announced it. But this is an important step. The impeachment power resides solely with the House of Representatives. If a majority of the House now says we're in an official impeachment inquiry as part of our constitutional duty to do oversight, that carries weight. That's going to help us get these witnesses in. And maybe most importantly, regarding this morning's activities, this is the argument that the White House and Hunter Biden's counsel used to say he shouldn't come. Okay, we disagree. We thought he should have been here. But when we take that vote this afternoon, what's our argument going to be then? We think he should come in. And if he doesn't, we're going to move forward with contempt proceedings. There's a process we have to follow, but we plan to do that.
So contempt proceedings, because of a precedent set by the Democrat House of Representatives, well, that's going to be an interesting kettle of fish. In fact, what's going to happen is that those guys are going to have to be in a situation where, indeed, they will actually have to explain why it is that Peter Navarro was arrested in an airport, put in leg shackles, and why Paul Manafort ended up in jail in jail for flouting, or I'm sorry, it wasn't Paul Manafort, it was Steve Bannon. Those guys, I don't think I know that Peter Navarro ended up in jail. I'm not sure that Steve Bannon did, but both of those guys are in legal trouble over these subpoenas, over ignoring congressional subpoenas. Famously, Eric Holder, the Attorney General during the Obama administration, indeed flouted a congressional subpoena. Just flat wouldn't bother showing up. Oh, really? So now we're in a situation where Hunter Biden does the same thing, and Hunter Biden says, well, I had my choice of either a public ceremony or a deposition as spoken by committee chairman Jim Jordan. Excuse me, not Jim Jordan, but, well, he is a committee chairman, but with the House Judiciary Committee. I'm talking about James Comer with the House Oversight Committee. Well, the problem with that is this, all right? So Hunter Biden says he has a choice. James Comer's subpoena says he doesn't have a choice. Which one is backed by American law? Well, obviously, the subpoena is. That is a subpoena, duly sworn. It is inescapable. And indeed, there is a DOJ attorney right this very minute, Lisa Wolf, who is testifying under the auspices of an exact same subpoena. And she showed up. Why? Well, because she's an officer of the court. She's an officer of the court, and if she doesn't show up, she could be disbarred. I believe that Hunter Biden no longer practices law. I don't know whether he was ever disbarred, but certainly he may have withdrawn voluntarily. But he certainly couldn't get a position on the bar anywhere in the United States at this point. But the thing about it is this, is that these subpoenas matter. The Democrat Party said so. They arrested people in draconian ways. You know, at airports, as Peter Navarro, they wanted him to look like he was trying to escape, which is ridiculous. It's ridiculous on its face. In a public airport, this is obviously a stone desperate, crazy criminal that's going to do his absolute dead level best to try to be a fugitive from the law because he doesn't want to testify before Congress. Really. The other thing about this is this. Abby Lowell is saying that he wants all this to be out in the open and in public. That is disingenuous. He wants it out in the open and in public because of the rules governing the way committees question witnesses. It's 5 minutes apiece, and there are all kinds of procedural and stalling tactics that can be used, et cetera, that House Republicans just don't want to deal with at this particular moment. They're going to have to deal with them eventually. But what they're trying to do is they're trying to get a deposition where they can go through and ask these questions. Hunter Biden cynically saying, I'm here. I'm ready to answer questions, but only under my terms. Sorry, Hunter, that's not going to work. So the question comes up, will the DOJ dispatch an FBI fugitive squad to go arrest Hunter Biden someplace public, put leg shackles on him, and drag him off to a federal pokey? Will they be doing that? No. Why? Well, because Hunter Biden is a Democrat. That's why. Oh, really? Yeah, oh, really? This is the Wells Report. John David Wells, thanking you very much for joining me here. There is some information with regards to the vote for an official impeachment inquiry. We'll have that in the second hour of the Wells Report as we continue here on this very fine-looking Thursday. Your host, not fine-looking, but had some pretty serious surgery on my face yesterday. I got a little piece of skin cancer off of my face, and everything's fine. All the margins are clear. If you've been thinking about that, that's all right. Everything's going to be fine, except my face got a small little bit smaller, and I don't know exactly what that means. But what we'll do is we will certainly bring you more of the news as we continue here on the Wells Report. Thanks very much for being a part of our broadcast. And coming up in just a couple of seconds, we'll tell you more about this show and what we're up to here on the Wells Report. Thanks for being with us on Thursday morning.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning-fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Thanks for joining us. I appreciate your time. Telephone number 817-379-2172, 817-379-2172. And so Hunter Biden has decided to defy a House subpoena. Peter Navarro, Steve Bannon, a colleague of mine, is a guy, or both guys, that got into serious DOJ legal trouble because of all that. And what I'm trying to figure out at this point is whether or not there is a problem. And I can't really say that there isn't. You know, all I can say is that it seems extremely odd that indeed Hunter Biden would be in a position where he can pick and choose as he sees fit when it comes to exactly what he's going to do and what he's not going to do, when it comes to doing what he says he's going to do, which is essentially ignore this House subpoena because it just doesn't meet his standards. You don't get to do that. That's not something you get to do. In fact, what you have to do is you have to say, boy, these guys are serious. And they are. They're very serious. They've asked for a deposition. They have compelled you to appear before the House of Representatives, and you are thus compelled. And that you didn't show up yesterday put you in big trouble. And since the Democrat Party decided to run roughshod over anybody that worked for Donald Trump in any possible way they possibly could, draconian and otherwise, the DOJ can either look like they are painfully biased, which they already look like. I mean, they're already painfully biased, or they can move forward and arrest Hunter Biden forthwith. Those are their choices. Something tells me they're going to choose the former because at some point their buddies in the mainstream media will indeed cover their large expanding butts. However, Hunter Biden has broken the law here. And we know what happens to people in the public sphere, in the political sphere, that ignore subpoenas from Congress. At least if they work for Trump. If they're a part of the Biden family, gosh, who knows? But this two-tiered legal system will destroy this country. A nation of politics and not a nation of laws cannot stand. And this is not just an example, it is the latest example of just exactly how this particular government operates. It's crooked. It's just plain crooked. It's awful. So Hunter Biden says that the Republicans are behaving in a shameless way. Really? Seriously. All I can tell you is that your seeming lack of awareness in making that statement belies the fact that that was a bad idea. I know you were reading a statement that was written by Abby Lowell, but at the end of it, that was a seriously bad move. During my battle with addiction, my parents were there for me. Yeah. I was extremely irresponsible with my finances, apparently. And that happened in the depths of his addiction. And then he went on to say that it was ridiculous that they would try to take his particular misfortune and try to tie it to his dad. Well, that takes us right back to how effective the money laundering is that you set up with a bunch of your friends and buddies and business associates. There are 20 shell companies. Nobody has any idea what they do. Apparently, none of them have a website. Nobody has any idea what the businesses are. But I suppose we could find out if somebody would start talking. At least Hunter Biden did open his mouth and say something yesterday. It wasn't the right somethings. He made a mistake. He needed to go sit down with the Republicans. But he decided to play politics with it. Okay, that's fine. But you can find yourself in a position where you can next be hammered with a contempt citation of Congress. Now, yeah, the DOJ has to enforce it. Will they? Well, it depends on how much damage they want to do to themselves again. I would suspect that somebody's going to pick up the phone, call Abby Lowell and say, Abby, you made your point. The Republicans are going to reschedule this deposition. You need to go. And then they'll go and do that. That's probably what's going to happen. I'm okay with that. Although this is contempt of Congress. And either we all play by the same rules or we don't. And if we don't play by the same rules, we're damaging the Republic. The people of the United States are turning away from their Congress in droves. They simply don't have any confidence. And this is why. This is one of the reasons why. Because Democrats do one thing, Republicans do another thing, and they are completely different from a standpoint of fairness. There is no equity, to use the term of the day, equality for people that actually speak English. There's no equal representation here, not of the people, but certainly of what the American system is supposed to be. The DOJ has turned itself into a joke. And here's the latest punchline. Hunter, go talk to the Republicans. Joe, start having serious conversations about your situation with regards to Hunter's business dealings. Start telling the truth. If those money laundering mechanisms that you put up are in good enough shape or worked as well as you hope they do, you might have a chance to be able to get through all this. Otherwise, you got a serious problem here. More about this impeachment inquiry coming up next on the Wells Report.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back. But you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
Hey, thanks for joining us this morning for the Wells Report, and make sure you share us with all your friends on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Rumble, Patreon, and don't forget to check out our Substack column, which will be coming up a little bit later on this afternoon. When you do all this, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you give us those thumbs up. They are really important. Check the notification box so you know when we're on the air, and whatever you do, join us every morning, Monday through Friday, 9 to 11 a.m. Central Time, for the Wells Report.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
North to south, coast to coast, around the world. This is the Wells Report. Good morning, I'm John David Wells. We report the news here, honestly and fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias. We point out both. In short, we de-propagandize the mainstream media. We make commentary. That's not news. That's opinion, yours and mine. Two ways to do that. Call us on the telephone at 817-379-2172. You can contact us on our chat room. Chat room is flying along today. I want to thank everybody that's there. Let's see, Yvonne's here. Eddie Jones is here. Martha is here. Mike is here. And all we're missing is you, so come by and say hi. Let's see who else is here. Let's see. Cowboy from Hell gives me a thumbs up. Thanks very much, Cowboy. Good to have you here. Jesse, it's Peppermint Mocha Day. Oh, okay. I don't get to have peppermint mocha because the peppermint has corn syrup in it. I'm allergic to that, and I don't want a migraine headache today. I've got enough problems with my head, as you can plainly see. If you're joining us, just joining us on this hour of the Wells Report, I had some Mohs surgery on my face. And let's see, I used to know what Mohs meant. Microscopic is the first word. M-O-H-S, surgery. Let's see, Mohs surgery. Okay, okay. Mohs is a procedure to treat skin. Let's see. Let me see if I can find out what's going on. It's supposed to be the gold standard of this kind of thing. What is Mohs surgery? Let's see if I can get. I've looked at 4 articles right now, and none of them tell you what Mohs stands for. They just don't stand for it. Mohs, by the way, has a very high cure rate. And by the way, the circumstance with regards to me, it was really kind of nice. Because there was no cancer inside the margins. Let's see, Mohs. I'm gonna have to Mohs meaning. Okay, here we go. Thank you. Micrographically oriented histographic surgery. Okay, that is the acronym. All right, Mohs surgery. It's a procedure used to treat skin cancer, says the Mayo Clinic. The surgery involves cutting away thin layers of skin. No, not thin layers. No. Each thin layer is looked at closely for signs of cancer. The process keeps going until there are no signs of cancer. Well, this is the third time that Dr. Syra Momin has cut on my face. She's got a pretty good idea of how this cancer deals with me. So she went right through the end of my skin and then put it all back together again. Yeah. The goal of Mohs surgery is to remove all the skin cancer without hurting the healthy skin around it. That was well done. Mohs surgery allows the surgeon to be sure that all the cancer is gone. It makes it more likely the cancer is cured. It reduces the need for other treatments or more surgery. Yeah. So that was happening. And that's what went on. And it was wonderful, as much as having a piece of your face cut off can possibly be. So there you go. That is why I have this golf ball sized bandage on my face. It'll be there again tomorrow. I have to wear this sucker for 2 days. And then I can't shave around that particular area. Apparently, I can't shave around this particular area of my face for 2 weeks. So I'll probably have a tuft of hair. It's going to be awful. It's going to be just sucky. It's the way things go. All right, let's get back to the news, shall we? This is a good idea. According to Reuters, the U.S. House of Representatives voted yesterday to formally authorize its ongoing impeachment inquiry into President Biden. As Republicans unite behind the effort, even though they have yet to find evidence of wrongdoing by the Democrat. This according to Reuters. That is not true. There is evidence that points to Joe Biden. I don't know why this would be put on Reuters. Reuters is usually a straight-ahead news service, but for some reason showing bias this morning. We point that stuff out because you need to be aware of it. There is plenty of evidence, and it all comes from the banking system at this point. Nobody from the Biden administration or the administration, or nobody from the Biden administration or the family has stepped up to explain these changes of huge sums of money throughout various shell companies, etc. Just go explain it. If it's all legal and on the up and up, who cares? Everything goes away. But that's not what they're doing. They're being evasive. They're using the system to try to forestall what might be inevitable, and maybe they know better about that than the people trying to chase them down, and so that's why they're being evasive. I don't know. But the best thing to do at this particular moment is just step up and start telling the truth. You'd be amazed at what the American people are okay about if you don't lie to them. Just tell us the truth. Let us make the choice. Let us make the choice. Anyway, House of Representatives voted 221 to 212 along party lines to approve the probe, which is examining whether President Biden improperly benefited from his 53-year-old son Hunter's foreign business dealings, hours after the younger Biden refused to call to testify behind closed doors. The White House has dismissed the inquiry as unsubstantiated by facts and politically unsubstantiated by facts and politically motivated. Biden is preparing for a possible 2024 presidential rematch with Donald Trump. Trump is the first president in U.S. history to be impeached twice and is currently preparing for 4 upcoming criminal trials. This is clearly biased reporting here. The effort will most certainly fail to remove Biden from office. Even if the House votes to impeach the president, the Senate would have to vote to convict him on the charges by a 2/3 vote, a near impossibility in a chamber where Biden's fellow Democrats hold a 51-49 majority. Let's talk a little bit about that. So, if indeed there is bribery, that is specifically mentioned in the Constitution as cause for removal of a president. If indeed the House of Representatives, and it looks like they are building a very well-documented case, if they are able to pull off this case and actually show all of these things, if the Democrat Party refuses to vote for them, they're voting for bribery in office. What does that do? What we've seen is a hierarchy of things. It became pretty obvious that either Hunter Biden was going to have to fall on his sword or Joe Biden was going to fall on his sword with his son Hunter. Or now the Democrat Party has to decide just how much further they're going to support Joe Biden, especially if there is strong evidence of bribery. And from all the things I've seen, there is. This is a nonpartisan broadcast. And people go, yeah, right. Yeah, you're just a right-wing loon. No, I'm not. I'm an American. I hold things that we see in the news up to the American Constitution and Bill of Rights and Federalist Papers and the Declaration of Independence. I filter all of those things, all the things I report to you through those lenses. And I also have a pretty good set of experiences in my life that I draw on for the commentary on this broadcast, which is what I'm doing, which is why I'm looking at this camera. This is the news camera. This is the opinion camera. Okay? Sometimes I get them confused, but it's not bad. It doesn't happen often. So here's what I'm saying. Okay? Let's assume for a moment that Joe Biden is universally loved by Americans all across the country. That, of course, does not explain a NASCAR crowd yelling, "Let's go, Brandon." However, let's assume that that's the case. Bill Clinton famously said, I did not have sex with that woman. And then said, in point of fact, I did. And yes, he was impeached for it. But he wasn't impeached for having sex with Monica Lewinsky. He was impeached for lying in a federal deposition, very much like Hunter Biden is supposed to be or was supposed to do yesterday. And you can't have a president lying in a federal judicial proceeding. And he got impeached for it. And no, he was not removed from office. And I don't think he should have been. Should he have been impeached? Oh, absolutely. Should he have been removed from office? No. Fast forward to the impeachments of President Trump. Should he have been impeached? No. Neither time. Neither time. The first time was disproven nearly in real time and was nothing more than a bunch of shrill political operatives doing their absolute dead level best to essentially, they pulled off what Abby Lowell is saying the Republicans would do with Hunter Biden, which was cherry pick evidence, etc., explain what had happened behind closed doors, and then get rid of the evidence of what happened behind closed doors. That's just bogus. That's just bogus. The Republicans are absolutely said, they say, I don't know whether they'll do it or not, they probably will, but they will release a transcript of the deposition, which they should do. And that's public enough. But it's the formatting of the questions that has to be the issue. Getting back to President Trump, the January 6th situation was whipped up into a frothy frenzy by the Democrats in the House of Representatives trying to get rid of President Trump as a future presidential candidate. The only way that that goes anywhere is if people do not know what English actually means when it's used in sentences. I don't know what language they were listening to, but I have gone over the speech from Donald Trump, and in no way, shape, or form does he call for people to go invade the Capitol. Doesn't say to disrupt the proceedings. There are all kinds of problems with January 6th, and those problems became acute when the January 6th committee got rid of all their evidence, or theoretically they did. They got rid of all of it. Why? Hunter Biden archly says, what are the Republicans afraid of? They're not afraid of you at all, Hunter. They're not afraid of public conversations. They're not afraid of anything. But Democrats are. Democrats were afraid that people would see all that evidence. And then they would contrast what they heard about the evidence versus what they can read about the evidence. That was the problem there. The Republican Party they're not, that party isn't going to make that mistake. Look, all I want is the truth. And what I was getting to in all of this is this. Joe Biden could step up before the American people, and he could explain his conduct. He can explain the money, explain the shell companies. He can do all of that. If he is as loved by the people of the United States as the media says he is, and as the vote tally from the 2020 election says he is, then he's got a very, very good chance of this just disappearing. But if indeed there is hard evidence, if it is convincing, if it is beyond a reasonable doubt, the Democrats have to vote to remove President Biden. All of us do. The question is, will we? Hard decision. This is the Wells Report. John David Wells at your service. Telephone number 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. Chat room is available. Come and join us. Tell us what you think. Cowboy gave me a laughing face. Why the laughing face, my friend? You're making fun of my bandage? I was going to get it a little cowboy hat. You know, I may see if I can try to find one. Or put some garnish on it or something. You know, I don't know. Maybe write Titleist across it. If I can get a Titleist logo. I don't know. This is the Wells Report. Coming up in just a couple of seconds, we're going to spend a little bit of time looking at a videotape of the Speaker of the House of Representatives, who spent some time discussing the vote to have an official impeachment inquiry against President Biden. We'll have that coming up in just a couple of moments. This is the Wells Report. Back with more in just a moment.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
This is the Wells Report. John David Wells at your service. Telephone number is 817-379-2172. Be sure to call if you have something to say on any of this. A lot of things to talk about. And just because you hear me say it doesn't mean that it's the Bible. It's not gospel. It's just what I think. We report the news. That's serious. Okay, we just report the news. Okay? We analyze the news for fact and bias. That's serious as well. We want to make sure that you get news instead of propaganda. So we point out bias and we explain the propaganda aspects of whatever we're reporting when it's appropriate. And then we make commentary, and that commentary is that's not about news. And it's also not the only way it ever is. Rush was very famous to say this is the way it is. No, I'm interested in what you have to say, so feel free to join us if you would like to. So, the House yesterday voted along party lines to actually make official an impeachment inquiry against President Joe Biden. This was some of the commentary from Speaker of the House Mike Johnson after that vote.
I keep hearing from Republicans, you say, we're going to follow the facts where we lead on this impeachment investigation. But aren't there going to be a lot of conservatives in your party, because this has been drummed up for so long, we're going to do impeachment, we're looking at these tax records, we're looking at the Hunter Biden stuff here, that if you guys don't call an impeachment vote in the next few months, they're going to say, wait a minute, that's it. I mean, haven't you put them over the barrel a little bit if you, in fact, do not have a vote to impeach the President of the United States in a couple of months?
Chad, we're following the Constitution, and I've made this very clear. Remember, my background is constitutional law. I served on an impeachment defense team twice under President Trump. We developed, unfortunately, Elisa and I, an expertise in this area. This is not something they really covered in law school. What you know about impeachment, if you look at the Constitution, is it's a heavy authority that's given to the House, specifically to the House. That's where the power lies. And next to the declaration of war, you've all heard me say many times, I think it may be the heaviest power that we have. It's very, very serious business. It has to be conducted in that way. The impeachment inquiry is necessary now, as Whip Emmer just explained, because we've come to this impasse where following the facts where they lead is hitting a stone wall, because the White House is impeding that investigation now. They're not allowing witnesses to come forward and thousands of pages of documents. So we have no choice. To fulfill our constitutional responsibility, we have to take the next step. We're not making a political decision. It's not. It's a legal decision. So people have feelings about it one way or the other. We can't prejudge the outcome. The Constitution does not permit us to do so. We have to follow the truth where it takes us, and that is exactly what we're going to do. And I'll note, too, I know that people are frustrated sometimes with the time that's being invested in this. But this is the way the founders anticipated that something like this would go. There shouldn't be any such thing as a snap impeachment, a sham impeachment like the Democrats did against President Trump. This is the opposite of that. And that's why people are getting restless, because they want things to happen quickly. If you follow the Constitution and you do the right thing, you cannot rush it. You have to follow the facts. So,
but you don't think there's an expectation by the base that you guys are going to, again, I know all these predicates and caveats here. There's not an expectation that your side is going to impeach the president because that's what they were elected in the majority.
People have a lot of opinions and a lot of expectations on all sides. What we are bound to do because of our oath to the Constitution is to follow it. And that's what we're going to do. Next question.
And just to follow up on that, thank you, Mr. Speaker. If you get into the spring and decide not to impeach the president based on the inquiry, you would be comfortable with that decision, essentially absolving him months before a presidential election?
We're not going to prejudge the outcome of this. We can't, because again, it's not a political calculation. We're following the law, and we are the rule of law team, and I'm going to hold to that. That's my commitment.
That is Speaker of the House Mike Johnson making it very plain what he's attempting to do here. He is couching it all in a pursuit of law. And I certainly hope that's the case. Although what we've seen leading up to this particular impeachment after the last couple, you look at this and you go, really? You know, anybody would have to. But at some point, doing the right thing has to start somewhere. Is this where that's going to happen? We don't know, but we'll see. We will see and we'll find out. I am disturbed by the mainstream media talking about the fact that they're pursuing an impeachment inquiry without evidence. That's just simply wrong reporting. That's a lie. What are they doing that for? So what we'll do is we'll watch what happens next and we'll report it here on the Wells Report.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost. How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Thanks very much for joining us. Some disappointing news coming out of Washington, D.C. This from the pages of the Washington Examiner. The House of Representatives has passed the National Defense Authorization Act. It happened earlier this morning, about 29 minutes ago. And it has truly annoyed the House Freedom Caucus. Here is the reporting on that as we bring it to you first thing in the morning, thanks to the Washington Examiner. The members of the House Freedom Caucus are prepared to use all available leverage to change the status quo, said the House Freedom Caucus in a statement. We will not simply vote no on bad legislation and then go home for Christmas. Why did they say that? The House passed the annual NDAA before its members leave for the year, angering many conservatives who feel as though Speaker Mike Johnson caved in the negotiations. However, much like when then Speaker Kevin McCarthy passed bipartisan legislation that hardline conservatives did not agree with, there will likely be a revolt. The threat is vague from the House Freedom Caucus. Members of the Freedom Caucus have refused to expand on what they meant by it. The disdain for this year's NDAA was real. The vote today was 310 to 118. 73 Republicans voted against it. The main point of the opposition to the NDAA was Speaker Johnson's decision to include a short-term extinction of the that's extension, not extinction, extension of Section 702 in the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act that will extend it until April 19th of 2024. Corey Mills, the representative from Florida, she's a Republican. It's upsetting to me. She voted against the NDAA. You can see the kind of trickery of D.C. where they try to attach FISA to the NDAA. That way, they can put you in a situation where if you vote against it, oh, you hate our military. Or if you vote for it, oh, you hate individual privacy. These are poison pills. Yes, they are. But Johnson and House members leave for the year, having passed this year's NDAA, despite angering many members of his own caucus. However, when they return, Johnson will have to put together and manage a highly fractured conference of people upset with his handling of topics and must pass legislation over the past month. The Senate voted 87 to 13 yesterday to pass the 3,000-page, $886 billion legislation, which sets Pentagon priorities for the fiscal year, including a 5.2% pay raise for troops, $11.5 billion for China deterrence efforts, and $800 million in Ukraine military assistance. Legislation now heads to President Joe Biden's desk to be signed into law. Now, this is the kind of thing that got McCarthy, Speaker Kevin McCarthy, to be ex-Speaker Kevin McCarthy. I doubt very sincerely that they're going to be doing this with Mike Jones. Now, the good news about this is they only extended that ridiculous FISA mess until April 24th of 2024. That's an important date. That FISA cannot go forward under the current circumstance. That's going to be a fight, and it needs to be a fight all by itself. And we will know whether or not we have a go-along to get-along Republican House Speaker, or whether we have somebody that wants to uphold the Constitution of the United States, as he stood up for it when he was talking about, hey, we're following the Constitution here. I'm a constitutional lawyer. Okay, well, that's perfectly fine as long as you are actually what you say you are. And I'm not sure that that's exactly the case, sir. This NDAA is a mess. First of all, it's very much like an omnibus bill. It's way too big. And we have to get back to regular order and passing all these appropriations bills, don't we? I mean, don't we? So that happened this morning. I thought you'd like to know about the breaking news that was indeed going on here on the Wells Report today. So there are a couple of other things going on that have to do with a lot of what we're up to here. This particular impeachment inquiry has drawn the attention of Jonathan Turley. I gave you
Let
a
me
small.
bring in Matt Whitaker. Now
Okay, thank you very much. Automatic starts. Gosh, I hate those things. I wish I could do something about them. Can't do it. Can't figure out how to do it. Just can't figure out how to do it. So I'll turn off autoplay again for the thousands of times that I've done so. But there you go. All right, so here we go. Let's go to the New York Post and let's see what Jonathan Turley has to say about the vote yesterday to formalize the House impeachment inquiry. We already talked to you about what his advice was. We've already said this. Nearly 70% of voters, 40% of Democrats believe that President Biden has acted unlawfully or unethically, or both. Every Democrat voted to stop this investigation from moving forward. Why? I have no idea. And yes, Jonathan Turley testified at the impeachment inquiry months ago, and he said that the threshold for an inquiry was obviously satisfied by the evidence of massive payments and the contradictions of the president's past claims. And so Jonathan Turley believes that this formal impeachment inquiry, which gives the House Oversight Committee and Ways and Means and Ways and Means and Justice and Judiciary a whole bunch of new powers that cannot be just stonewalled. So he now believes, Jonathan Turley believes, that this is a good idea. But he did say that there are at least 4 articles of impeachment that could be established. But he also said that 3 Democrat myths have to be set aside in this column. He says, this one, here's the first myth. Joe Biden did not benefit from influence peddling. All right, after years of suppressing this scandal, the media, even some Democrats, now admit Hunter Biden and his uncles have been long involved in influence peddling. The United States has led global efforts to criminalize and deter this common form of corruption for years. This is Jonathan Turley speaking in an op-ed. Recent testimony from Biden associates confirmed they were selling the Biden brand, and Joe Biden regularly called into meetings and met with business associates. The last line of defense has been to argue that while millions may have been sent to Biden family members in raw influence peddling, there is no evidence Joe actually benefited from the money as opposed to his children, brothers, and grandchildren. This false narrative is being repeated despite the fact that courts have rejected this claim in actual criminal cases. Not only have payments to children and other family members been viewed as benefits to a defendant, at the same time, the same is true in impeachments. I served as the lead counsel in the last judicial impeachment tried before the Senate. My client, Judge G. Thomas Porteous, had been impeached by the House for, among other things, benefits received by his children, including gifts related to a wedding. It's about Hunter's addictions, not actions. That is the second myth the Democrats are putting out there. Jonathan Turley says this about that. Democrats are again insisting that a complex multi-million-dollar influence peddling operation was simply the product of Hunter being a blacked-out drug addict for years. The argument obviously cuts both ways. Even if Hunter was some kind of an addict thinking only about his next fix, it only highlights that these foreign figures are giving millions to have access to the dad, not the advice or expertise of his son. But Hunter's own counsel has undermined that claim by arguing in Hunter's gun case that he emerged from his addiction just in time to sign the allegedly false gun form. Yeah. Much of the misconduct occurred when Hunter was, by his own lawyer's account, suddenly clear and responsible. The evidence belies claims that Hunter was not responsible for these actions or in the underlying influence peddling. It shows a knowing, organized effort with the involvement of his uncles, in some cases his father. The effort to portray Hunter as some purse-snatching junkie does not fit the evidence as he flies around the world to meet with corrupt figures and secure millions of dollars. Once again, this is Jonathan Turley, who is a law professor at George Washington University. The last myth is particularly maddening. It's all about Hunter's truck. Okay. This, according to Jonathan Turley, this is maddening. The House Oversight Committee released new evidence showing payments to the president out of Hunter's business accounts. The committee used the payments to show these business accounts were being used for personal payments, and there was an intermingling of funds. Democrats in the media immediately latched onto payments where Hunter was allegedly paying back loans to help pay for his truck. Members told the Ways and Means Committee this was merely a father's love, not showing anything impeachable. It's a cynical effort, says Jonathan Turley, to focus a few $1,000s while ignoring the millions the committee detailed in months of investigation. Democrat members make it sound like the impeachment inquiry is based on a couple of alleged truck payments. It is not. The truck payments are a handful of among dozens of transfers from these accounts to Hunter or family members. The point is the proceeds of influence peddling may have been used to pay back the president who was supporting his family members. The dollars are fungible. The money in these accounts were intermingled with personal expenses, including payments to Hunter's father. Once again, President Biden would be viewed as benefiting from the millions of dollars going to his family, even without direct payments. The question is his knowledge and involvement, not the benefits. That not a single Democrat is demanding answers about this corruption is disappointing, but hardly surprising. But President Biden is now facing an impeachment inquiry that will finally demand answers, not myths, on the Biden's family influence peddling operation. Make no mistake, this is sad. This is really sad. And the reason this is really sad is because, President Biden, he's just not that smart. He's just a guy. He's kind of a razzmatazz artist. He's somebody that has played politics beautifully over his career and was essentially wrapping up his political career after being a vice president for President Obama, a very good vice president for President Obama, except for this dalliance and influence peddling. And President Obama, in a news story reported on this broadcast, told him to knock it off. Now, I don't know when that actual conversation happened, but I know it happened, and I reported as much on this broadcast. Fast forward to suddenly Bernie Sanders is about to take the 2020 Democrat presidential nomination. My goodness, who do we have that could possibly get Bernie Sanders out of the way? Well, the Democrat National Committee essentially just blew up Bernie Sanders. I mean, he'd won several different primaries. And suddenly, South Carolina, all of a sudden, Joe Biden wins by a landslide. Oh, really? And then he won the rest of them by a landslide, got the nomination, and defeated Bernie Sanders because the Democrats didn't want to be the Democrat Socialist Party. They wanted to be the Democrat Party, or at least they wanted to appear as if they were the Democrat Party. So now we have this president of the United States who is in a position where he is without doubt. He's in a position where he's going to have to start explaining things. And the walls are closing in closer and closer and closer. And what does this mean? Where does this go? Well, like I said, this is sad. It is sad because I just want Joe Biden to do what he does and get away. I want him to not run for re-election. I believe that it would be a mistake, not just for himself, but for the country. He needs to get out of the way of somebody else who could run for president in the Democrat Party that might do something, might do something good. It's possible that they would. Who knows? Depends on who it is. If it's Gavin Newsom, I think that's more of the same from the Democrat Party. But once again, that kind of politician is comfortable for them, I suppose. But at some point, I'd sure like to see the Democrat Party where, say, for example, Joe Manchin was welcome, as opposed to all of these crazy leftist, communist, socialist thugs. The progressive branch of the Republican Party, they need to leave the progressive branch of the Democrat Party. They need to leave the party. The party needs to toss them. You guys are not Democrats. You guys are socialists. Go to the American Socialist Party. Have a great time. Take all your money with you. We don't, just because you got it during your stint as Democrats, it doesn't mean anything. Just take it with you. Good luck. And get them out of Democrat politics, or there's not going to be a Democrat political party for the long term. And so now we have damaged goods at some level with President Biden. Not what the country needs right now, but that's what we have. So we can just ignore it. We can just ignore the damaged goods part of it, or we can actually try to make things right. Two ways to do it. The President of the United States comes forward, explains himself, explains what he did, explained what he does, what he believes, how he managed it. And the people of the United States choose. or he doesn't. And the House of Representatives moves forward. And they decide to impeach the president, and they have an impeachment trial right during the 2024 presidential campaign. And that, of course, matches up with President Trump's legal issues. So is that the way we want to run the 2024 election for president? This is the Wells Report. Think that over. We'll be back in a moment.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning-fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
This is the Wells Report with John David Golf Ball Face Wells. A little surgery here, and it's going to be on my face tomorrow. In fact, I don't get to take it off until Saturday, and then I'm going to pull this sucker off my face as fast as I can. Then what I can do is I can put a couple of smaller bandages. I'll get all that worked out. But I just wanted to let you know that I know it's distracting and crazy, and yeah, I feel a little bit weird today because I got to be honest with you, I'm not quite 100% today. It was more of a surgery than I was expecting. I was walking away from that and said, that was about that far away from being enough of a surgery to put me out for. Because let me tell you, they were moving some of my face around under this bandage. There's a lot of moving face or moved face. And so there are, in case you're interested, there are 4 stitches underneath internally. And then there are 8 stitches across my face. And so we'll see. But the surgeon says you're a walking advertisement for me. So we got to make sure that this is right. I don't know whether you'll ever be able to see any of this. You probably will be, because certainly bandages, I'm not going to show you the sutures, obviously. But next Wednesday, we'll get them out, and we'll see what happens. A couple of things here before we go on the Wells Report. The assistant U.S. attorney is accused of limiting questions related to President Biden during federal investigations into Hunter is sitting for a transcribed interview as we speak. Assistant U.S. Attorney Leslie Wolf was famously the person that forced IRS and FBI investigators to not talk about Hunter, his allusions to the big guy. All right. Fox News reported before her testimony began, she is no longer employed by the Justice Department. Interesting. I did not know she had been fired. Whistleblowers Gary Shapley, who led the IRS portion of the Hunter Biden probe, and Joseph Ziegler, a 13-year special agent with the IRS Criminal Investigation Division, alleged political influence surrounding the prosecutorial decisions throughout the Hunter Biden investigation, which began in 2018. Shapley alleged that Wolf sought to block investigators from asking questions related to President Biden throughout the years-long federal investigation into Hunter Biden. Specifically, Shapley alleged that Wolf worked to limit questioning related to President Biden and apparent references to Biden as dad or the big guy. Okay? All right. Finally on the broadcast today, Saturday Night Fever first hit screens at Mann's Chinese Theater in Los Angeles, California on this date in 1977. It had an amazing soundtrack. The Bee Gees were right smack dab in the middle of it, although there were some other artists. Dramatic disco dances, the dance scenes, timeless teenage coming-of-age story made its world premiere today, December 14th, 1977. Saturday Night Fever earned a lot of great positive reviews, well-casted, well-directed, well-acted from many critics, including the late Gene Siskel, who called it his favorite film ever. But whatever its other cinematic merits, the film's strongest proponents would agree that it was the pulsing disco soundtrack of Saturday Night Fever that made it work as a long-lasting performance that has stood the test of time. This was from the original trailer for the film Saturday Night Fever. Check this out.
Are you as good in bed as you are on that dance floor?
No, Joe, you make it with some of these chicks. They think you gotta dance with them.
He's very good, huh? He's the best. Hey, man, he's great. He's the king out there. John Travolta in Saturday Night Fever.
Yeah. So I didn't have the dance moves, but I did have the hair. And I had the shirt. And I had the slacks. And, yeah. I know you look at me now and you're sitting there going, you had that hair? Yeah, actually, it was better. I had really cool hair. I did. Now, you have to understand something. This was 1977. So, yeah, I was kind of peripheral on the whole disco thing, you know. But because I was a drummer in a hair band in the early 80s. I mean, my hair was down my back. It was down to a point. Never mind. It's a long. I did have hair at one point. Then I joined the Texas State Guard, and my hair is now gone. But that's the way it works. I mean, you know, that's just the way it is. But Saturday Night Live did it. I swear I was not going to do that. Saturday Night Fever was not just a film for John Travolta. That was a life-changing thing that brought the discotheque scene of New York and elsewhere to the fore in the United States and absolutely solidified the disco movement that lasted for decades. So like I said, during the actual immediate space after Saturday Night Fever, you know, I was in a hair band playing rock and roll. I mean, you know, I was a rock and roll drummer. But as I moved forward in my radio career and we were doing music at that particular moment, we could not escape the fact that people were going to these wonderful places and having a great time. And that came to a pinnacle in Atlanta, Georgia, when we did a performance every Tuesday night called Turn On Tuesdays at a place called Rupert's that had an actual honest-to-goodness 11-piece orchestra. It was amazing. Absolutely incredible. And then it all went away and is now made fun of. But on this date in 1977, it was serious business, wasn't it? Saturday Night Fever. Saturday Night Fever. Wow, so cool. This is the Wells Report. Thanks very much for joining us today. Our telephone number will remain 817-379-2172 until tomorrow. Have yourself a great time. And we'll see you again for the Friday edition of the Wells Report, golf ball and all, right here. Take good care. I'll see you tomorrow.